على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I welcome all the viewers of the Peace TV network, the Peace TV English, the Peace TV Urdu, the Peace TV Bangla, and the Peace TV Chinese, as well as my 4 social media platforms, which are the Facebook, the YouTube, the Instagram, and Twitter. I welcome all the viewers with Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on all of you. I welcome you to this program, Ask Dr. Zakir and his son Farik, Season 2, Session 1. You were just hearing my son, Farik Naik, who was handling the question answer session live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And I'm sorry for the interruption because the network was very bad. And inshallah, I will continue the session. And here you're most welcome to ask any questions on Islam and comparative religion. Any question which a non-Muslim or an atheist may have asked you and you're unable to reply. Any question that you find in the media attacking Islam, or you require a logical reply or a scientific reply, this is your opportunity. You can ask your questions on any of my social media platforms, but the best is texting the question in brief on the WhatsApp, mentioning your name, your profession, and the city and country of residence to the WhatsApp number +60 11 269 53895. I repeat, +60 11 269 53895. Now we will take the first question. The first question is from Mehtab, West Bengal, India. Is it permissible to convert a church or a temple into a mosque after that area is conquered by the Muslims? And a similar question of the same category is asked by Munir from London, UK. What are your views regarding Erdogan, the president of Turkey, converting the Hagia Sophia from the status of a museum to that of a mosque? There are 2 questions asked by the brothers. The first question is that is it permissible in Islam to convert a church or a temple or house of worship of a non-Muslim to a mosque after that land is conquered by the Muslims? The reply to this is yes. There are several hadith and there are several references that it is permissible to convert the house of worship of the non-Muslims to a mosque if the Muslim wants to after they conquer the land. But regarding those house of places of worship where there is a contract with the non-Muslims, for example, if a non-Muslim has a contract with the Muslims and they have a treaty that we accept you as our rulers, or if the non-Muslim, they surrender and they agree to be under the rulership of the Muslims, then these non-Muslims are called as dhimmi. So as far as non-Muslims who are dhimmi, who are protected by the Muslim rulers, in this there's a special condition and a treaty that their lives will be protected by the Muslim rulers, their house will be protected, their place of worship will be protected. So in such a case where there's a contract between the Muslim ruler, or they have surrendered to the Muslim ruler, or they have invited them to take over and from the ruler which is unjust, and if there is a contract and there is no war, In these cases, they are called as dhimmi, and the non-Muslims, they have to pay a jizya for protection. Under these conditions, the Muslims are supposed to protect the lives of the non-Muslims, their homes, as well as their house of worship. But they cannot build new house of worship which belong to non-Muslims. They cannot expand it, but they can keep it. And here, the Muslims will not touch the house of worship of the non-Muslims. But if the Muslims conquer the land, in this case, it is perfectly permissible for the Muslims to convert it into a mosque. As far as the second question is concerned, that what are my views regarding the issue that is taking place today? And we know that the court has given the verdict, and Erdogan, the president of Turkey, has said that the Hagia Sophia, which was a museum, would be reverted back to a mosque. Let me first give you a brief regarding the history of Hagia Sophia, so that people who are unaware will know about it, and then I will give my views. As far as Hagia Sophia is concerned, it's a monument which is there for about 1,500 years. It was built by Emperor Justinian I in 537 CE. It took about a few years for him to build, and it was a cathedral of the Greek Orthodox. And it remained a cathedral for several centuries. In 1204, during the Fourth Crusaders, they converted the Greek Orthodox Cathedral into a Roman Catholic Church until 1261. So initially, for 667 years, it was a Greek Orthodox Cathedral. Then after that, for 57 years, from 1204 to 1261, for 57 years, it was a Roman Catholic Church. Again, later on, when the Christian Byzantines came to power, it was again converted back into a Greek Orthodox Cathedral until the Ottoman rulers, until Sultan Muhammad Fateh. He conquered Constantinople in 1453. Then it was converted into a mosque. So since 537 up to 1453, for more than about 900 years, it remained a Greek Orthodox Cathedral. Then for a few years, it was the Roman Catholic Church, then went back to become a Greek Orthodox Cathedral, and it was the largest church in the world when it was built. The biggest in-house covering, and the dome was the largest. It remained larger for 1,000 years until 1500, when a new church was made. In 1453, Sultan Muhammad Fateh, he conquers Constantinople, and then there are documents available that he purchases the Hagia Sophia, and after purchasing it, he converts it into a mosque. It remains a mosque. Can I have a glass of water, please? It remains a mosque till 1931, until Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, when he takes over Turkey and he declares it as a secular state. For 4 years it was closed, and he passes a verdict in 1934 that the mosque should be converted into a museum. And since 1935 till today, 2020 July, that's 11th of July, it remained a museum until today. And all these years, for about 85 years, there were many cases saying that why the Hagia Sophia a museum? Because Atatürk declared it that this is a sign of secularism, that we want to make it into a museum, it will not be a church, it will not be a mosque. And since that, there were many cases that have been filed that it is wrong that it was converted into a museum. And recently, the council in Turkey, the highest administrative court, it passed a resolution that it was illegal for Mustafa Kemal Atatürk to convert it into a museum. And today, mashallah, the court of Turkey has given a verdict and has said that it was illegal for Atatürk to convert it into a museum. And alhamdulillah, Erdogan, after the court verdict, he signed a resolution that this structure, Hagia Sophia, which was earlier a church, then became a mosque, then a museum, it will be transferred from the Department of Tourism and it will go to the Department of Religious Authority of Turkey. Now this has created a lot of controversy, and today if you read the newspapers and the media, they are disagreeing with the decision taken by Turkey, by the Turkish government, by Erdogan, and you find right from USA, Trump, Russia, Greece, all of them condemning it is wrong, UNESCO, many non-Muslim organizations, and you find the media that they disagreed, they've been threatened and said it is wrong. But the saddest part, what I read in the media, that there were many Muslim countries and many so-called Muslim dies, and Muslim scholars from the Western country said what Turkey did and what Erdogan did is wrong. And to support their claim, they said that, in history, that Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, was asked to pray in the Jerusalem. He did not pray. He said if he prays there, people make a mosque, and then he prayed somewhere else, and the Masjid Aqsa was made. And all this is about how we encourage and have a relationship. And they quoted the verse of the Quran, Surah Hajj, chapter 22, verse number 40, saying it is not permitted to destroy the synagogue or the church, and Quran is against it. And I was shocked to read the views of many of the Muslim guys from Western countries and from the Arab world, saying it is wrong. What are my views regarding what Turkey did is correct or not, or what Erdogan did is right or wrong? As far as my views are concerned, the hadith quoted and the incidents quoted by the Muslims regarding Hazrat Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, that he did not pray and he prayed somewhere else, and there were treaties between Muslims and others that your lives are safe and your places of worship are safe, and Muslims will not enter your places of worship. All these references are when there is a treaty between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. As I mentioned in the first answer to the first question, that can a holy place, a church or a temple, be converted to a mosque after it is conquered? The answer is yes. Only if there is a treaty between the Muslims and the non-Muslims, or if the non-Muslims surrender, or they are dhimmis, non-Muslim living in the rule of the Muslim ruler, under the law of the Muslim rule, Islamic rule, that is the only condition where the Muslims give them security and they are paying a jizya. As far as when the Ottoman rulers, when they conquered Constantinople, it was a conquest, it was a war. So it is wrong to give examples of a treaty between the Muslims and non-Muslims and say that same way Turkey should manage it. That's totally wrong. So if there is a conquest, if there is a war, and if the Muslims rule, and this is a common law all over the world, we find so many non-Muslim rulers, when they conquer the land, they occupy the mosque. Many of them demolish the mosque. You have an example of the Crusaders. The best example is Spain. There were hundreds of mosques, and most of them were either converted to churches, or they were made into museums, or they were destroyed. Hardly you find there was not a Muslim who could openly give the azan. Why don't people object to that? So this was the normal law that once you conquer, that becomes your land. So once it becomes your land, you have a right to do what you want to do. Later on, after World War I, World War II, then the Geneva Convention, all that is later on. So before that, the rule was once you conquer a land, it becomes part of your land, and you can do what you feel is right. So based on that, this was a conquest done by Sultan Muhammad Fateh. And in a conquest, they have a right to keep the house of worship, to convert into a mosque. It is a right, and you find several examples. In fact, if you read the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, I'll give you one incident which is, I don't want to give it, but to reply to these Muslims who are attacking Turkey and attacking Erdogan, that if we read the seerah of the Prophet, if we know in the seerah of the Prophet, when Muhammad ﷺ migrated to Medina and later on he came back to Makkah, during Fateh Makkah, what did he do? When he came back with about 10,000 Sahabas and it was a victory, the first thing he did was he went to Kaaba, which was the house of worship of the non-Muslims. There were 360 idols in Kaaba. He went in the Kaaba and recited the verse of the Quran from Surah Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 81, which says that وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَاقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. When truth is heard against falsehood, falsehood perishes. For falsehood is by its nature bound to perish. وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَاقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. When truth is heard against falsehood, falsehood perishes. For falsehood is by its nature bound to perish. And he destroyed all the idols. Imagine today if the non-Muslims object and say, what I did is wrong. Will the Muslims agree to them? It was a house of worship of the non-Muslims, right or wrong? Yes. But it was a conquest, though it was a bloodless conquest, it was an easy thing. Once they ruled the land, they destroyed the idols. And that is in Islamic history. So do you mean to say what Prophet Muhammad did is wrong? And many may not be aware that Makkah is also mentioned in the Bible. If you read the Bible in the book of Psalms, chapter number 84, verse number 5 to 7, it says, blessed are those people who travel to the valley of Bakkah. And the same Bakkah, the word is also mentioned in the Quran, in Surah Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 96, which says the first place of worship, the first house of worship of Allah was Bakkah. Same word what the Quran mentions for Makkah, Bakkah, is also mentioned in the Christian Bible. Imagine today the Christians say that Makkah belongs to the Christian and the Muslims should give it to them. Will the Muslims believe? Will the Muslims agree? And the answer is no. Imagine someone comes with a bright idea that let us convert the haram into a museum. Will the Muslims believe? Will the Muslims agree? And the answer is no. What you have to realize, at that time this was the law. And at that time, you see the seerah of the Prophet. What did he do? What happened today, many of the Muslims are being influenced by the Western culture. Because they are staying in Western countries, they want to change the Islamic history. They want to give a ruling. They quote verses from the Quran. And the verse of the Quran that was quoted, of Surah Hajj, chapter number 22, verse number 40, which says that, Quran says that house of worship should not be destroyed. There is no verse in the Quran saying that. It is a misunderstanding. If you want to know the real context, start from verse number 1 before. Surah Hajj, chapter number 24, verse number 39 says that you are permitted to fight against those non-Muslims who have done wrong. And Allah will aid you and protect you. This is the first verse of the Quran giving permission for the Muslims when they migrate from Makkah to Medina to fight against the non-Muslims. First verse. Then verse number 40 of Surah Hajj, chapter number 22 says that, and those who leave their homes because they say that our Lord is one, Allah is one. And it continues that if Allah wouldn't have checked one force with the other, then the churches and the synagogues and the mosques where the name of Allah is taken would have been destroyed. It doesn't say that it is not permitted to destroy. It's telling that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one, it's telling, it is giving permission for the Muslims to fight against the non-Muslims who have done wrong, who have done transgression. And then it says that those Muslims who leave their home because they believe in Tawheed, believe in one God, Allah is there to protect you. And then it says, if Allah wouldn't have checked one group against the other, then the places of worship, like the synagogue, like the church, like the mosque, would not have, that would have been destroyed. Giving an indication, doesn't say that you cannot destroy. For knowing the real meaning, go to the tafsir. And if you read Qurtubi says very clearly that what I said in the reply to the first answer, that if there is a treaty between the Muslims and the non-Muslims, if the non-Muslims become dhimmi under the rule of the Muslim rulers, if they agree that the Muslims are the rulers, or if they surrender and there's no conquest at that time, and if they are paying jizya, if they are paying a tax for protection, it becomes the duty of the Muslims to protect the lives of the non-Muslims, the dhimmi, to protect the homes and protect the house of worship. But, again Qurtubi says, you cannot build a new house of worship for the non-Muslim because it is sin. But what is there, it can remain. They cannot expand it also. So if there is a treaty or if the non-Muslims have surrendered, in this case, yes, you cannot occupy it, you protect the house of worship, but cannot build a new one, cannot expand it. But in conquest, if there is a war and if the conqueror is there, then it is the right of the Muslim ruler to do what he wants because that becomes part of his land. So please don't quote some hadith which is out of context. And there are several hadith of the beloved Prophet ﷺ, where he told the Sahaba that go and destroy the idols. Several. He has told Khalid bin Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, go and destroy the idols. There are several. He has told Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, go and destroy the idols. There are several hadith in Bukhari, in Muslim. Muhammad ﷺ himself destroyed the idols in Makkah. So please, I would like to request the Muslims that by giving answers, a general common Muslim who may not be aware of the context will agree with the views given by such scholars, which is totally wrong. Is there any scholar, Islamic scholar, who can deny that the Prophet broke the idols? Is there any Islamic scholar who can deny that the Prophet told Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, the fourth caliph of Islam, told Khalid bin Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, and many of the Sahaba that go and deface the idols? There is one more hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. It's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 320, as well as Sahih Muslim, hadith number 2476, where Jarir ibn Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, one of the Sahabas, he says that the Prophet, peace be upon him, he called me and he told me that, will you relieve for me the Dhul Khalsa? What is Dhul Khalsa? Dhul Khalsa was the place of worship of the non-Muslims in Yemen. It was also called the Kaabatul Yaminiya. Kaabatul Yaminiya means the Kaaba of the Yemen. And in it, there were idols. He said, will you do a favor for me? Will you leave it? Will you destroy it for me? Then Jarir ibn Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, he takes with him 150 horsemen and he goes and burns down that house of worship. So it's a hadith, a Sahih hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. I don't want to tell this, but it is there. That means the Prophet commanded not only to destroy the idols, he even asked them to destroy the place of worship. So when the Muslims are conquering and when they rule that land, it is permitted even to destroy the place of worship. Now this, if you say Quran says you should not destroy churches and synagogues, how did the Prophet, do you think the Prophet went against the Quran? The context is wrong. That is when there is a treaty between the Muslims and the non-Muslims, when they are dhimmi, when they are under the rule of the Muslim. But generally, it is a fard to destroy the idols if the Muslim conquers the land. And if there are idols, it becomes a fard. And you have several examples of Sahaba doing that. It is umpteen number of hadiths are there. So to try and misguide telling that it is not permissible is totally wrong. But destroying the temples or the house of worship is not a fard, but if required, if it's causing a problem for the Muslim Ummah, the Prophet has commanded that. So how can you say it's not permitted? So what I would like to say, that many a times Muslims living in the Western country or even some of the Muslims in the Arab land, trying to be soft to the non-Muslims and trying that they are the one who will support them, they are the one who are going to fund them, etc. They are going to protect them. Many a time they give verdicts which is against the Quran and the Sunnah. Be careful. If you are going to go against our Muslim brother, the Erdogan, the president of Turkey. Or against a Muslim country. There are hardly few people today, Muslim leaders, who can really try and revive the Sunnah. And as I said in my earlier answer, that I don't know of any Muslim leader which is anywhere close to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or anywhere close to the Khulafa Rashidin, the way they ruled or how they were political leaders. Nowhere close, not even 1%. Now if one Muslim brother is doing something which is there, it is permitted, why are the Muslims against him? So as far as my view is concerned, Alhamdulillah, what Turkey did is completely correct. And if you agree that they are wrong, you actually, if you agree that Muhammad Fateh Sultan, he purchased the mosque. Today we know there are hundreds and thousands of churches in different parts of the world, in the Western countries, in UK, in Europe, in America, which have been purchased by the Muslim organizations. If you say that after you purchase you can't make it into the mosque, that means the Muslims living in the Western country will have to give up all these mosques back to the church. If few centuries back, Emperor Sultan Muhammad Fateh purchases, buys with his own money, and that was one of the reasons. So here we're not talking about conquest, it is purchased. We're not talking about war. It's permitted after war, you can convert it. Here he purchased it. There are documents. So the court in Turkey said, seeing at the documents, if there was a case filed that what right does Kemal Atatürk have to convert it to a museum, the highest authority in Turkey, it's a legal verdict, said what is done by Atatürk is wrong. Now why? What is bothering USA or Russia or Greek? How can they object? How can they interfere in the personal affairs of Turkey, a Muslim country? And why are the other Muslims supporting the non-Muslims? It is totally wrong. As far as I am concerned, whatever Turkey did is correct. It is permitted in Islam. It is Mustab, alhamdulillah. It was a mosque for several years. It was purchased. If I don't support them now, I'll have to tell all the thousands of mosques in the European country and in USA and in Canada, which have been purchased from the church authorities, even they have to give them up. So please, Allah clearly says in the Quran, in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 135, that Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, oh you believe, stand out for justice as true to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if it be against yourself, against your parents, against your relative, whether rich or poor, Allah protects both. So please, if a Muslim has the guts to do something which is close to Quran and Sunnah, it's the duty as Muslims that we should support him and we should encourage him. Hope that answers the question. The second question from Dr. Ahmad Nisar, Lahore, Pakistan. Is it permissible for a Muslim state, Muslim government, to build a temple or church from government expenses? A similar question asked by Amir Wasim from Islamabad, Pakistan. We have a controversy here over the construction of a Hindu temple in Islamabad with the taxpayers' money by the government. Muslim clerics are opposing it here. Can a temple be built with Muslim taxpayer money in an Islamic state? And this is another controversy that is there in the past couple of weeks regarding the government of Pakistan funding in the construction of a Hindu temple in Islamabad. And this controversy is there for the last couple of weeks. Is it permissible or not? It is unanimous amongst all the four Aimmas. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, all the fuqaha unanimously say that a Muslim cannot donate his money for the construction of a house of worship of the non-Muslim. Cannot donate, cannot build, cannot support. Several fatwas. You see the fatwas from classical scholars, from the medieval scholars, that it is not permitted for a Muslim to build a church or a temple or give donation to build a church or a temple or any place of worship of the non-Muslims. Based on the verse of the Quran of Surah Ma'idah chapter number 5 verse number 2, which says that you have to cooperate with one another in birra wa taqwa. At-taun al-birra wa taqwa. That means you have to help one another for righteousness and piety. And this is the common verse which most of the Muslims know. But the verse continues and says that but you should not cooperate. You should not help one another in sin and transgression. You cannot help anyone, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, in doing a sin. And the biggest sin in Islam is shirk, is associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how can a Muslim donate or support or build in building a house of worship of the non-Muslims? Regarding the question, can a Muslim government contribute or pay from the taxpayers' money? And the answer is no. If it's a Muslim country, and if it is according to the rules of the Sharia, of the Quran and Sahih Hadith, it is haram for any Muslim or a Muslim government to pay or donate to a house of worship of the non-Muslim. In fact, when a fatwa was asked to Imam Abu Hanifa and to the other Aimmas, that if a Muslim bequeaths in his inheritance that let part of my wealth or 1/3 of my wealth be donated to make a temple, it is not permitted at all, or a church. Even if you bequeath, you write in your will that let 1/3 of my wealth be donated for the house, to build a house of worship with a non-Muslim, it is haram, it should not be followed. Even if a non-Muslim living in a Muslim country bequeaths that let my wealth be used for the building of a temple or a building of a church, it should not be followed. And this is unanimous amongst all the fuqahas. Even you cannot use the non-Muslim money to build a temple in a Muslim land. So where is the question of using Muslim money or taxpayers' money? Even if the non-Muslim wills give a wasiyah, as I mentioned earlier, that if a Muslim has a treaty with a non-Muslim and the non-Muslim agrees that he comes under the rulership of the Muslim ruler and he signs a contract, then he becomes a dhimmi. He becomes a non-Muslim under the rule of a Muslim law. And then he pays a jizya. In that condition only, the Muslim ruler protects that house of worship, whether it be a temple or a church. But he cannot spend money even in renovation on it. He cannot spend money even in expanding it. And if a Muslim ruler expands a place of house of worship of a non-Muslim, there is full right to destroy that part which is expanded, even though it is a dhimmi. There is no permission for him to build a new temple or a new church for the non-Muslims. Only what exists, he can protect it. That's all. So if Pakistan calls itself to be a country which is following the Quran as the constitution, and if the Muslim ulamas and the shuyukhs, whether it be Darul Ulum Deoband, whether the Markaz al-Hadith, they have objected, of course they are right. I'm completely with them. I'm completely with the scholars in objecting that how can Pakistan spend the government money in making a temple? The maximum they can do is whatever temple existed, they can keep them, that's it. They cannot contribute in expand. And that's the reason, there are Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia where it's not permitted to build any house of worship of the non-Muslim, and this is Islam. You cannot. If it's there, existing there, it is there, okay. But you cannot do, not only not allow, in some Muslim countries, those billah, they are donating land for building temples. Some Muslim countries, they are funding tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in building house of worship of non-Muslims. This is totally against Islam, against the teaching of Quran and Sunnah. So what the Muslim ulamas and the shuyukhs in Pakistan are doing, objecting to the act done by the Pakistan government, I'm with them, I completely support them, and this should be stopped. Hope that answers the question. We have on the Facebook Rohit Patel, MashaAllah, Ahmad Khalid, Masood Sheikh, Muhammad Yunus Kabir, Waqar Ahmad, Masood Ahmad, Abdul Yusuf, Parveen Muzammar, Anik, Adalat Justice, Saud Hashmi, Tabassum Mohiddin, Saeed Al-Nat Sheikh, Muhammad Abdullah, Atif Nazir, Faiza Saria, Muhammad Arif Khan, Sadir Rahman, all this on the Facebook, and most of them are saying Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. They're doing du'as for me, and I do du'as for you too. We have on the YouTube Kaisar Muhammad, Stat Race, Turkar Zenikil, Hassan Mustafa, Mahnur Fazal, Rahman Khan, Javed Mir, Tawfiq Ali, Amna Masood, Tawfiq Ali, Tanveer, TM Rayan, Yahya Salman. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah bless all of you. The third question is from Abdul Jabbar from Hyderabad, India. I completely agree with your reply given in the previous session that Muslims must not migrate from Muslim countries to non-Muslim countries for a better living. I also agree with most part of your reply regarding Muslim living in non-Muslim countries, especially Western countries, should mostly migrate to a Muslim country. What are your views regarding Muslims living in India, since India was previously ruled by Muslims? And I would like to thank Brother Abdul Jabbar for asking this question. He is referring to the reply I gave in my last session, where a person asked that, is it permissible for a Muslim to migrate from a Muslim country to a non-Muslim country for a better living? And I will just repeat in short, and I said it is not permissible for a Muslim to migrate from a Muslim country to a non-Muslim country for a better living, unless it is for education. He can do for that couple of years of education and come back, or if he wants to do dawah and he wants to become a full-time da'i, being a full-time da'i, going as a da'i and giving dawah in a non-Muslim country is permissible, but for no other reason, for a better living, or so that you can get more money or you can have a luxurious life. Besides these two reasons, for a better living or anything else, it is not permissible for a Muslim to leave a Muslim country and go to a non-Muslim country, especially referring to the Western country. And then I went further to say that the verse of the Quran, of Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 97, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the angel comes to take the life of the person who had died in sin, that how was your state? And he said that we were weak and oppressed. Then the angel replies that the earth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is vast, so why didn't you migrate? That means, and those who do not do that, Allah says, they will go to hell and their refuge will be evil. So based on this, there are three options for a Muslim living in a non-Muslim country. And I gave that reply that Muslim living in non-Muslim countries, especially referring to the Western countries, that if they cannot live openly, declaring themselves to be Muslims, or cannot practice some of the Islamic aspects, or they cannot practice most of it, or some of it, it becomes further for them to migrate to Muslim land. The second category, those Muslims living in a non-Muslim country where they can freely practice Islam and they have no problem at all, and they can call themselves Muslim, they can do all the fara'id, there's no restriction at all. I don't know any such country. There may be parts of some country, but as a whole I don't know. Some countries may be better than the others. But if such a situation is there, then it is not compulsory for them to migrate to a Muslim country, it is mustahab. That means they can stay, but yet better is to migrate. And the third condition is if the Muslim is oppressed, or they are weak, or they cannot migrate, then Allah will forgive them. This was my answer of three categories. But now the brothers posed the question, what about India? the Muslims living in India, because India was ruled by the Muslims for more than 1,000 years. So does India also come in the same category as a Muslim country? And that's a very important question. And Jazakallah for asking this question. There are some countries, and one of the good examples is India, that India was ruled for 1,000 years. And the population of India, approximately more than 1/3, about 40% of them were Muslims. Then the Britishers come, and they come saying that they're in business, but they want to control India, they start ruling India, and then when they left, they created a division amongst the Indians, which were living very peacefully. Even though the Muslim ruled India for about 1,000 years, the Mughal, no one forced the Muslim to accept Islam. If the Muslim rulers would have forced the non-Muslim to accept Islam, there would not have been any non-Muslims alive in India. Many accepted Islam because they liked Islam. Many people remained as non-Muslims, and there was no problem. But the Britishers, they have a policy of divide and rule. So when they left, they divided India into 3 parts, and they divided the Muslims especially, and 1/3 of the Muslims went to Pakistan, 1/3 went in India, 1/3 went to Bangladesh. They didn't give one country, they gave 2 countries, and Bangladesh and Pakistan, which were known as West Pakistan, East Pakistan, they split. So now Muslims are divided to 3. In India, a little bit more than 1/3 remained, maybe about 37, 38, 39% remained in India. 1/3 went to Pakistan, about 33%. Less than 1/3 went to Bangladesh, about 29, 30%. But if you add all together, Muslims were 40%. Now when partition took place, India declared itself to be a secular country. It didn't declare itself to be a Hindu country. And when the constitution was laid down, it had a special rule. It was a secular country, and it said that any citizen of India following any religion, that law of that religion will apply as far as civil cases are concerned. So if Muslims are living in India, they have a separate law, and today also they have, known as the Muslim personal law. The Christian have their Christian law. The Hindus, they have their Hindu law. So when this was drafted, it gave permission for all the religions to practice their religion freely. All the citizens of India. India was not at all a Hindu country, and even today it is not. It is a secular country, it is a democratic country, and it said that any citizen of India, whichever religion he belongs to, can live here peacefully. So based on that, India is a unique case in the world where Muslims ruled for 1,000 years. And today also, according to me, the majority of Muslims in any country in the world, number 1 is India. Though statistic-wise it says number 1 is Indonesia, about 220, 230 million Muslims. Number 2 is India, some about 200 million. Some people say that it is Pakistan, about 202 million. And third is Pakistan, some say second is Pakistan, third is India, and then fourth is Bangladesh. According to me, the Indian government doesn't declare the correct number of Muslims. They don't count the Muslims in Pakistan, they don't count many millions of Muslims in Assam, etc. I feel, according to me, minimum Muslims would be 250 to 300 million today. So according to me, the country which has maximum number of Muslims living in any part of the world, number 1 is India, then is Indonesia, then is Pakistan. The number of Muslims in India would be minimum 250 million, can even go up to 300 million. Now, when the partition took place, the government that was formed in India, the constitution says that every citizen of India has the right to preach, practice, and propagate his religion. And it is just about 4 years back that I left my country, and for more than 20 years, mashallah, for about 25 years, I did dawah openly, large audiences, and India has been a very safe place for the Muslims. It is recently when the BJP government came to power, just hardly 6 years back in 2014, that the problem started. Previously the problems were minor, and the Muslim could live peacefully. There was no major problems at all. The politician, Hindu politician, mainly the BJP, which is a part of the RSS. These are fanatics and fascists. And they started promoting Hindutva and trying to misguide the people. And now there are problems created for the Muslims. But generally, for the Muslims living in India, it is very close to living in a Muslim country. They have their full rights. So Muslims living in India, it is perfectly permissible for them to live. Such close example is, for example, Singapore. Singapore first was part of Malaysia, where 2/3 of the citizens of Malaysia, they were Muslims. Previously were everything, later on the non-Muslims came. And then Singapore became separate. And today Singapore has about 18 or 20% Muslims. So there also they have a Muslim personal law for the Muslims. So Singapore is also somewhere close to India. But naturally, the freedom in India is much more than freedom in Singapore. So there are certain few more countries like that, maybe Mauritius or some which may have a Muslim personal law. So in such countries, India is one of the best amongst these countries. And these countries where there is a Muslim personal law, where you can follow. I don't know of any Western country where a Muslim can follow Muslim personal law. Only the criminal law is common in India and these countries. But in the Western countries, certain things the Muslims are permitted. For example, they are allowed to have halls of worship, but they cannot marry according to the Islamic law. They cannot have more than one wife. The nikah is not valid. The divorce is not according to the Islamic Sharia. Inheritance is not according to Islamic Sharia. You can will it, that's a different case. So you cannot, and neither can you openly practice your deen as you can do in India. Yes, there are some non-Muslim countries which are better than the other non-Muslim countries. So my answer was basically talking about non-Muslim countries, mainly the Western countries and the other non-Muslim country. So India will come close to a Muslim country, not fully like a Muslim country. It's not required for the Muslims in India to migrate. They can live, and you have a lot of history of Muslims, and if you see the structure that are created and a rich source of Islamic knowledge is there in India. So, but natural, Jazakallah for asking the question. This is a different case altogether, like in India and other few countries of the world. Hope that's the question. The fourth question is from Sohag Ahmad. Sir, please debate with David Woods or say something to him, as he says lot of rubbish things about you and other Islamic scholars. This person, Sohag Ahmad, and few other Muslim brothers have been continuously asking this question, that why Dr. Zakir Naik not debating with David Woods, and they keep on asking this question several times. And I didn't think it was important, but now finally I've taken the question to give them the reason. First, you have to understand that anyone that challenges a person, it's not required that you should accept the challenge. As far as you realize, there are many non-Muslims who are becoming famous just by trying to criticize a popular person. Generally, it's a general rule, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, if you criticize a popular personality or a celebrity, that person becomes famous. This is a common thing, it's nothing new. So because of that, David Woods is one of the Christians who has spoken against me and spoken against some of the other Muslim scholars and tries to challenge them. Why I have not accepted such challenges? The reason is that first of all, we should not give publicity to such people. That's the reason I didn't want to answer this question. Then I thought of answering the question without taking the name of David Woods. If you go to David Woods, to his YouTube, you find that he has spoken against me, and those videos that made against me get views more than 1 million or close to 1 million. So we're giving him free publicity. There was a time when I was involved in the Dawah in my initial stages in the early 90s, and the internet was new. In the mid-90s, internet was new, and when I went to America in the mid-90s, one of the first sites that was against Muslims was Answering Islam, and the person who used to run this site was Joshin Katz. And that time we were new in the field of Dawah.